Welcome to Improve Your English Writing, video number 39, where I'll be discussing quotation marks. And this is part one of three parts. And in this video, I'm going to discuss the topics of direct quotations, just generally, and then signal phrases with direct quotations, which is rule number 32. So if you want to get notifications for this series, please click subscribe. If you like the video or think others will find it useful, please hit like and check out links to videos and books in the description, like a link to the companion volume there. So rule number 31 is enclose a direct quotation. That means usually you're quoting a person or a written source. So a direct quotation in double quotation marks. Capitalize the first word of a direct quotation when it is a proper noun, a proper adjective, and proper nouns and proper adjectives are capitalized anyways. And I'll get to that in a future video. Or you capitalize when it begins a sentence that's a complete sentence, or begins a line of poetry. So I'll get to the proper noun and adjective later, but if it basically, you capitalize a quotation if it begins a complete sentence or a line of poetry. So here's an example. I want to say, in a future video, we'll discuss how does the quote come in, or does the question mark come inside or outside the quotation marks, things like that, commas. I'll be discussing that in a future video, but it is good to, as you're looking at these examples, to note where are the commas and the other punctuation, how are the other punctuation marks being placed in relationship to the quotation marks. It's good to start noticing that now. So James replied, "Who said that lie?" So here James, this is a direct quotation of James, so we include the direct quotation in double quotation marks. The report stated this. So this is a direct quotation from a report. Since this is a direct quotation, we put it in parentheses. And since it begins a line or begins a complete sentence, we capitalize it. I should have said in the first example, this who is the start of a complete sentence. So here we have Officer Ramirez arrived at 7:34 a.m. After the homeowner was contacted, he searched the backyard. So this is the beginning of a complete sentence. So we capitalize it. And anyways, in another video, we'll learn this is a title before name. So we need to capitalize it. We'd capitalize officer anyways under two different rules. So, but here the focus is we just place direct quotations of people, what people say, or what document, or what's contained in the document within quotation marks. But like I said, you may want to start noticing how all the punctuation is placed in relationship to the quotation marks, but I'll be covering that in a future video. So use single quotation marks for direct quotation within a direct quotation. So when you have a direct quotation within a direct quotation, use single quotation marks around the quotation with inside the quotation. Here's an example. Maybe I should say this does happen, but it probably doesn't happen that often. Leon explained his nervousness. Lisa said, "Don't dare run into. Don't dare you." Probably should change that. "Don't you dare run into me at the party." So here we have the beginning of, so this is Leon explaining his nervousness. So actually the first double quotation marks are Leon saying something, and then he is actually quoting something that Lisa said. So what Lisa said is a direct quotation with inside a direct quotation. So whatever she says has to be with inside single quotes. And she says, "Don't you dare run into me at the party." And so we put that in direct or single quotes. But then Leon said this entire thing, so we put that in double quotation marks. And I've added this space right here, just for clarity. You would not normally, or you would not put this space here. I think some publishers actually put a very thin space here, but if you're writing this, in a Word document, you would not put the space here. I've inserted the space just for clarity to show. One is a quotation with inside a quotation, and the other one is just a direct quotation, just for clarity of the example. So that's a quotation with inside of a direct quotation. So rule number 32 is separate an introductory, interrupting, or concluding signal phrase, and I have in quotes. So we're going to this rule discusses what are called signal phrases. So I'll just repeat the rule. Separate an introductory, interrupting, or concluding signal phrase from a direct quotation with commas. See examples. Omit the comma if a period, question mark, or exclamation mark occurs where the comma would be placed. So basically, when you have signal phrases, you separate the signal phrase from the direct quotation with commas. But you don't want to you can't have comma period or comma question mark. So if there's a period, question mark, or exclamation point where the comma would occur, then you just omit the comma. We have examples of that, so let's translate this rule into some examples. So, one more statement. Signal phrases include the verbs said, asked, responded, stated, replied, yelled, screamed, and other similar verbs. It's very, I would say, the two most common are said and asked. So, here are some examples of some introductory signal phrases. So, and I do want to say, see video number 40, Rule 33, for our colon before a direct quotation. So if you're wondering about that situation, go to video 40, rule number 33. Of course, this is rule, if you're watching this video right when it's released, you're going to have to wait a few days for video 40. So here's some examples. Is the manager said, comma, it's time to go. So here we have an introductory signal phrase, and here the phrase is with the verb asked. So we separate the signal phrase from the quotation, direct quotation, with a comma. So I've highlighted the signal phrase in blue and the comma obviously in red. Tammy emailed, so here's the manager's quoting what someone said, and here Tammy's quoting what someone wrote. Tammy emailed, comma, I will fly to New York on Friday. So here we have a signal phrase introducing a direct quotation. So we separate that signal phrase from the direct quotation with a comma. Let's look at some of the other situations. Is a concluding signal phrase. So the signal phrase occurs after the direct quotation. So signal phrase, and that's what introductory means, is that the signal phrase is coming before the direct quotation. So concluding signal phrases, the signal phrase is happening after the direct quotation. It's time to go, comma, the manager said. Notice we will get to this in a different rule, but the comma comes inside the quotation marks. But it is separated, but the signal phrase from the direct quotation is separated with a comma. This said should be highlighted blue here. That is the verb. And who said that lie? James asked. So once again, I forgot to highlight asked in blue, which is the signal phrase. But you're saying, hold on, where's the comma? I highlighted this this question mark blue because normally we would put a comma here to separate it with a the signal for the direct quotation from the signal phrase. But remember, part of the rule is that there's a period, question mark, exclamation mark, where the comma would go, you just omit the comma. So here we're going to omit the comma. So the comma is omitted because of the question mark. So we would never have who said that lie, question mark, comma, that doesn't exist, is that you omit the comma when you have the question mark or a period or an exclamation mark. So that's what happened here. Now, an interrupting signal phrase is this is where the signal phrase actually is occurring or is placed in the middle of the direct quotation. How does that work? Let's look at an example. The direct quotation is, I'm traveling to Chicago for business next week, but the person put the signal phrase in the middle of the quote. So how do you handle that? And once again, I forgot to highlight the signal phrase in blue, which is whispered. So you say, I'm traveling, comma, Tom whispered, comma, because remember, the signal phrase needs to be separated from the direct quotation with commas. So here we have comma separating the signal phrase here in the middle, Tom whispered, from the direct quotation, which is on either side. So I'm traveling, comma, Tom whispered, comma, to Chicago for business next week. And note the comma does go inside the direct or the double quotes. I will get to that in a future video, but just want to point it out. So, do I have another example? Yes. So once again, the direct quotation is, I really like the plan. However, I have a few changes. That's the direct quotation. And here the signal phrase occurs in the middle of the direct quotation. Once again, I forgot to highlight the signal phrase, the verb in the blue. Apologize for that. And how do you separate the signal phrase from the direct quotation? Is with commas. So here's, I really like the plan, comma, Mary replied, but here there's a period, so why is there no comma? Once again, you would normally put a comma here, but per rule, if you already have a period, question mark, or exclamation point where you'd put a comma, you just omit the comma. And that's what happened here. Is normally you'd put a comma here, but since we put a period here, we just omit the comma. So that's how you'd handle that situation. I think I just have a bullet saying, oh yes, the comma after replied omitted, or the comma that would be placed after replied, has been omitted because of the period. So just stating that. And then just an example of no signal phrase. I didn't really discuss this on the last slide, but you can actually have, what happens when you have no signal phrase? Well, the question is, you don't use a comma. So here's an example. The medical reference states minimal side effects with that dosage. So here you actually do not have a signal phrase, therefore no comma is used. You just go straight, you just put the quotation marks around the direct quotation. That's it for this video. If you want to get notifications for this series, please click subscribe. Or if you like the video, please hit like. And check out links to books and videos in the description. Thank you.